Give me doubt so I can see my neighbor as myself. Give me doubt so I can lay all my weapons on the ground. When the armor of God is too heavy for peace, give me doubt. Give me doubt.
Right now, an estimated 1 billion children and young adults worldwide are confined to their houses as a result of the school closures in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic. Many of them are spending unsupervised time online, on gaming platforms where terrorist groups target vulnerable young people for radicalization. Extremists are seizing this opportunity to bolster their narrative and ideology, inspiring some individuals to commit acts of violence. But this is true not only of Islamic extremist groups, but of other terror groups, including far right-wing hate groups birthed right here on American soil. Terrorism and religious extremism are endemic to everyday life in the modern world, but it would be a grave mistake to assume that radical Islam is its sole proprietor. In March of 2020, FBI agents thwarted a plot by a 36-year-old Missouri man to firebomb a hospital where COVID-19 patients were being treated. The man was a potentially violent extremist who harbored racist and anti-government views and had also planned attacks on a mosque, synagogue, and a black school. In the US, far right-wing extremist groups are building entire propaganda campaigns around the pandemic, stoking resentments against an array of supposed villains, from immigrants to ethnic minorities to politicians and health officials. Abroad, the Islamic State has routinely described the pandemic as divine punishment against Islam's enemies, calling on followers to take advantage of the weakened security environment to carry out terror attacks. Western countries are explicitly mentioned among the group's intended targets. In postings on social media sites, Islamic State leaders have predicted the imminent collapse of the US, crediting COVID-19 for helping to achieve that. Radical extremist groups, both domestic and abroad, have always been a threat to our modern way of life, but what fuels their hatred and violence is, at the core of it, not a particular religion or creed. At the heart of every extremist group's ideology is a sense of moral injury, personal or collective, and that's determination to correct that injury through revenge and violence. Terrorism always begins with a grievance, that is, I or we have been hurt, and this belief that some enemy, external, must be responsible. Only then does the terrorist reach for religion. Terrorists begin with a grievance or a hatred, and then pluck from Scripture whatever verses might help to create an ideology to justify whatever actions will make them feel righteous or heroic. Terrorism is an ideology of moral outrage, clothed in religious garb. How do we condemn all acts of Islamic extremism while rejecting any actions or rhetoric that would condemn the people of Islam, who are almost entirely a people of peace, and who happen to share a branch with Christians and Jews on the Abrahamic family tree? Perhaps it begins with getting to know the basic principles of Islam and getting to know some of the 3.5 million Muslims currently living in the US. The majority of non-Muslim US Americans do not know a single Muslim. Half of Muslim Americans say it has become harder to be Muslim in the US. Nearly half say they have experienced at least one incident of discrimination just in the past 12 months. Many of our Muslim neighbors in the US live with chronic fear and mistrust, largely because so many non-Muslims live in fear and mistrust of them. There's a better way of relating to our Muslim neighbors. We can condemn the actions committed in the name of Islam without condemning an entire group of people who practice Islam. We can confirm that Terrorism is neither a normative behavior nor a core tenet of Islam, which means that we can surrender our fear and suspicion and find delight in the beauty of their tradition, acknowledging our kinship with Muslims as sons and daughters of Abraham, from whom we have all come. Perhaps by beginning there, we can find enough common ground to work together for the common good.
Give me doubt so I can see my neighbor as myself. Give me doubt so I can lay all my weapons on the ground. When the armor of God is too heavy for peace, I shall